Welcome back to another episode of Mindful Elves LCA. If you joined us for part one of this episode, you know we started a deep and honest conversation about why mental health is such a vital part of a successful marriage. In that first part, we explored everything from emotional stability and trauma to mental health history, boundaries, and how communication or the lack of it can truly make or break a relationship. Today, in part two, we're continuing that conversation by diving into the rest of the list, the areas that often go unspoken but are just as critical. We're going to explore relationship dynamics, family and external influences, future planning, preparedness and growth, and finally, relationship evaluation. This episode is all about creating intentional space for honest reflection, self work, and building a marriage that isn't just surviving but thriving. Whether you're engaged, newly married, or just reevaluating your relationship, these insights are here to support you. Let's get into
Woo!
it. How are you doing today, Norma?
I'm. I forget that we ask those questions, even though we do it every episode. Also, we haven't recorded for a minute, so I feel like out of touch.
Mm.
Um, I am. I'm just like jolly today, like very uppity and in a good in a good mood. It's been a good morning. So far we are chilling. How are you?
Same. I would say I feel productive today. Just in a good mood. Working on a couple different things, and yeah, just feel same thing. Upbeat, relaxed, peaceful. That
Good.
nothing crazy happening today. So yeah, it's all good. Okay, so like just the same thing that we did in the last episode. I'm gonna name some things, and then we'll go into why those things are vital for a marriage. If you remember the last episode, so the first one I have here on my list is attachment styles. And attachment styles, understand your own and your partner's attachment style and how it influences the relationship. So, give us a quick little thing of what the hell are attachment styles.
What are attachment styles? I'm gonna plug us in right here. Have we done that? I think we've done
Yes,
that in English. Yeah, we've done them
yeah,
both in English and Spanish.
I
So,
believe so. Yes.
mm, so I'm gonna little plug. If you want to get a little bit deeper into what an attachment style is, you can go ahead and find our previous episode on that.
We do a
But
deep
very
dive,
quick, huh?
and we do a deep dive on that.
Yes, a little bit of a deeper dive.
Mhm.
But anyway, so attachment styles is essentially how your body was trained to deal with the stress, ask for comfort, and receive comfort. Um, how you relate to people. There are four types. There's a secure attachment style, so that whenever your body's in distress, you're okay with asking for comfort and your body's okay with receiving comfort. There is the anxious attachment style, me, pick me.
Both of us.
Whenever Yes, we're both anxiously attached. When there is distress, your body goes into an anxious state. The way you receive comfort usually is you get higher. There is anxiety. You try to reach out. You're probably the person that's like, we need to talk about this right here, right now. Um, However, your body doesn't trust comfort so much because sometimes it was given to you, sometimes it wasn't given to you. So
Mhm.
it's like, are you going to show up for me or are you not? Because it could go either way. There is the avoidant attachment style. Um, that person goes inward. They kind of like those are the people that shut down, that don't really seek out comfort because what they learned is ain't nobody gonna show up for me anyway. So I'm just gonna deal with it by myself. So whenever there is distress, they usually will isolate, shut down, stuff like that. And the fourth one is the anxious avoidant, which is a little bit of a mix of both the anxious and the avoidant. Sometimes I'm like, let's talk about it right now, and sometimes I am like, I don't even talk to me. So those are the four that exist. Usually with any relationship, and it's okay even if your main one, like for me, is anxious attachment. You can shift between the two depending on the relationship that you're in. For
Mhm.
example, with I have a friend, she won the anxious chair, so I'm more avoidant with her. But in general, in my life, I am anxiously attached. And usually, there will be in relationship. There's usually those chairs: is the anxious and the avoidant. One person takes one, so the other one's like, okay, I guess I'm this chair here. Uh, why is it important? Oh, sorry, maybe I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah.
Those are
Well, no.
in a
Um, I was gonna say, but just like we always do, kind of here, like from my I can give you the example how it affected like our relationship with my wife. Like early on, it was I remember getting frustrated, being the anxious one, and being like, "Well, don't you care? Like, why don't you want to talk about it?" And I'm not gonna lie, even still happens sometimes. Like recently, still where I'm like frustrated. I'm here pouring my fucking heart out, and she's just like, and I'm like, you don't want to fucking say anything. Like it doesn't bother you, it doesn't affect you. You have no feedback, no nothing. Like what the fuck? Say something, you know. But earlier on, it was like more of like she's not as emotional as I am, so she must not care. She must not have the feeling. She must just not be as affected by why I'm affected, and that means she doesn't care about me because she's not responding about the way that I'm responding. Because in my upbringing, it was like balls to the wall, shit getting thrown, yelling, all kinds of stuff. And then I came into a relationship where it was the complete opposite, and she was like super avoidant at first. So that was a challenge, you know.
Mhm.
So just having
100%.
having an understanding of that, like it doesn't mean that she doesn't care about me, or that like makes a big difference. I I mean, we did talk about it in depth and other things, but I'm just like, I think this is a very important thing for people to understand. I would say this is a priority up there when it comes to relationships and marriage, because I see a lot of couples in my life that I come across that don't know this and
Yeah.
struggle with this because of it. Like you don't know how your avoidant attachment affects the relationship and affects the other person and affects you, and then the other way around as well, you know. So I'm able to now, because of the knowledge and the practice, to be like, oh, it's just it's just she's avoidant, or he's avoidant, or she's that. And it comes with all these fucking things that you need to work on and all that. But it can create a lot of strain in the relationship, because I remember you putting it together. It was like one of them is chasing and the other one's running away, and you just never get there, you know. Like you need to figure that out, because you know, like I said, the more I would push in the past with my wife, the more she would avoid the situation, and it just ends up going forever and ever, and it's the cat and mouse thing that never ends, you know.
Mhm.
And our interpretations of it. So definitely go listen to the other episode, or read a book, find another podcast in therapy, talk about it, whatever it is. I think it's one of the most impactful and like the most healing that has brought to my marriage, understanding that part of it,
Yeah.
understanding how that affects the relationship. Because I mean, once you study your own attachment styles, like you go back to your childhood, you know, and it just goes back from there. So yeah, you
Yeah.
it's definitely very important.
Yeah. One of the things, like, there's a little side note when people, because as you listeners know, I'm a therapist, and sometimes clients, when they go to therapy for the first time, they're like, I don't want to talk about my childhood. I don't. That's in the past. Like, I want to leave it there. Like, I don't want to. Like, what's the point, right? Like, a lot of them ask, like, what's the point of going back to those painful places? And that's a little bit of like what the point is one understanding of like how is it that I'm showing up right now, and how is it tied to what I went through, um, and also tapping into those wounds, tapping into that pain to be able to heal it so that you can show up differently in your relationships is super super important.
Hmm. Can we make a side note to do an episode on like early development and stuff, and how that affects you like throughout your life? You know, like your early childhood attachments, emotional regulation, all that stuff. I think it'll be a good episode to have where you can do that, because I do get that a lot. Well, what's the point of going back, and what's the point of going back? But I think when people knew the the importance and the shaping of those early years, then you'd be interested in learning about that. Okay. Um, the next thing here on the list is love languages, and it says identify and discuss how you give and receive love. Um, I recently moved with my in-laws, and one example that came up instantly as soon as I read it right now was my suegra's love language is to cook for people, like to the point that she gets upset and like questions why you're not eating it. Like Mia was not, because Mia doesn't eat a lot of dinner for some reason, which I'm like, hey, you be snacking a lot, and she was like, oh, well, maybe she's not used to my food and she's used to somebody's food and stuff like that. And like when you don't ask for seconds, when I don't know, whenever you don't want to eat, it's like question and like, oh, well, why, or did I do something wrong or something like that? Because she puts a lot of her effort into and her love into like I'm cooking for you, and that's how she gives you love. So rejecting, saying you're not hungry or shit like that, would be like a big deal to her, as an example. Um,
Hmm.
I actually don't know the love languages at the top of my head. You do know them? Do you know them?
I got you, baby. Watch me now, remembering. Um, physical touch,
Uh-huh.
words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, and acts of service. Look at me.
Hmm.
Woo.
Nice, nice.
I
Yeah,
don't
I,
know
I
how true this is, but somebody said this and it has like really like stuck with me.
uh-huh.
Um, don't quote me on this. I don't know that there's actual scientific information behind that. And even the love languages, I don't know that there's actual scientific science behind it. But anyway, um, your love, your love language usually comes from your wound.
Hmm.
It, for me, is physical touch, words of affirmation. Touch me and tell me I'm pretty.
Hmm.
You want to love me? Touch me and tell me I'm pretty. My mom was not a very affectionate human well growing up. My daddy
Hmm.
was a really hit or miss. Like sometimes I would that's why where my anxious attachment style comes from.
Hmm.
My dad sometimes would attend to me. And sometimes he wouldn't. Oh my god, I a little wound just popped up as I said that. Huh. I distinctively remember. And I'm like, now that it makes sense. So I remember when I was little, whenever I would ask my dad to like cancharme to pick me up, he would. And I remember the day that he stopped doing it. Because I reached my arms up and I was like, cánchame or abrázame. And he's like, no, ya no te voy a canchar. Ya estás muy grande. Oh, he's like, I'm not going to pick you up anymore. You're too big now. And I'm like, oh, I remember that day. Damn,
Hmm.
damn. Anyway, physical touch for me, because that wasn't something that I was giving a lot. And words of affirmation, because I remember growing up, if I did something right, it was what I was supposed to do. And if I did something wrong, I would hear it. I would hear it. Um, so those are my two. Um, again, I don't know if it's actually true, but usually the way that we love is the way we are yearning to be loved. What are
Hmm.
yours?
Well, I don't know that I had to like define them per se. Um, I think when it comes to like receiving stuff, like I told Sally in the past and shit. I think it's acts of service. Like I don't know, like okay, yeah, this is what came to mind, and this is true. Like the the need to be like taken care of, to be like babied. Like when I'm sick, like
Oh,
fucking take care of me in this way. When I'm not feeling well, oh, like fucking, I don't know, you twist your ankle, here's the shit and all that. Like that's, I think, what I like the most, and just feeling like taken care of, in that way.
where does that come from?
You, you'll know that you'll be listening to the episodes. You know where that comes from. Like obviously that makes sense of like not being taken care of and like left alone for um throughout my childhood and shit like that. But yeah, same thing. Go listen to other episodes. We go through that. So yeah, now that you put it together, it just made sense and it clicked in my head why I always felt that, and to the point that I think I even what is it called? It like overblow the or show my pain even more or do that stuff when it comes to because of the need to be taken care of. I remember, yeah, it's that part of it.
Or
It's
like you
definitely that.
over exaggerate, like you
Yeah,
over
like I
exaggerate.
even
Like if you're
yeah,
in
like
pain,
I
you're
yeah,
como cuando es
that's
un penal que te avientas y
yeah. I think that's what it is. Like even I exaggerate that part of it. Um, as like what I'm learning now though, what I pay attention recently because I was like, oh, I need to. I'm still working on that journey of like spending time or like showing love to my daughters, and I realized that like the physical touch with them like fulfilled me. So actually, I've been pursuing more physical touch, like
wait, say that one more time.
me,
You
like
having physical
physical.
touch with them
Yeah, with my
feels you?
daughters or with Sally and that like feels good to me to be able to do that. Like I think, and it's a recent observation where like, oh, it feels good to be hugging you, to be cutting you or something. Like it just gave that whatever chemical shit. It made me feel happy. It made me feel that peace. It made me feel relaxed and all that. So I'm pursuing like that stuff. Um
But
and
that's
for
something that doesn't come natural to you, yeah?
no, no, but like I paid attention how good it felt. And now I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm more pursuant now of that now because I'm like, oh, this actually feels really good. So now I'm pursuing that physical touch more and more, I think. Um
Good.
yeah. I think for my wife is like definitely words of affirmation and
Yeah.
some receiving gifts and stuff like that. Um quality time as well will come here and there, but should be better to tell you. But the problem comes, which has definitely happened in my relationship with her in the past, is like um what I do for her, she doesn't receive it, and then vice versa, right? Of like, what do you mean? She'd be like, oh, like this, you don't tell, like for example, you don't tell me that you love me enough, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like I'm doing this, this, and that,
Did
and
you
for
not see
you,
me wash the dishes for you? And she's
yeah.
like, "But you didn't tell me that you love me though."
Yeah, and that's where the problem comes, right? Of like when you can be showing or doing the acts of love and shit and that or the love language, but it doesn't connect. It's like you speaking a different language. So then it's like, oh, but you're not
Yes.
fulfilling it. You're not fulfilling it. But I'm like, what the fuck you talking about? I did this and that, and I did this and that. So I'm like that.
Yeah. I remember like with my ex-husband, because I think his acts of service, his is like big acts of service. I hate acts of service
Hmm.
because um I've had to be like a independent ass bitch, right? So when somebody does shit for me, and that's probably one of the things that I like probably need the most. Um but I would hate it. I don't know. I'm sitting down and we're like eating dinner and I will like try to get up to get like a soda. And then I remembered very distinctively him saying like, "Permíteme, mi amor," like I got you, baby, And I would be so pressed, and I'll be like, "Yo puedo," like don't, like it's fine, like I got it, like I don't need
Hmm.
you to bring me a soda, like I'm not a fucking kid. And he would look at me like, "Bro, like I'm trying to be nice to you, like I'm trying to be a good partner," and I'll be so upset. But words are not his thing. So then whenever he wouldn't tell me that I was pretty, or he wouldn't say that like he would love me, I would be like, "Do you even like me? Are you even attracted to me?" And he would look at me like so puzzled. And he'll be like, "Yeah, I do like you. I am attracted to you." "Well, it doesn't seem like it." I'm like, and he'd be like, "Why not?" Like, "Because you don't tell me." And he's like, "Okay, well." And he would just say it, so I'd be like, all right, shut the fuck up, you know. But he'd be like, I love you, you're pretty, and I'm like, no, but not like that. So then
I
he'll be
want you
like,
to I want you to say
I
it on your own, and I want you to mean it. I
and
don't
then
want to
and
have
he
to
would
remind you.
yeah. So then I'm like, and now I'm like, oh my god, Norma, oh my god, Norma. But I understand it. So then after I learned about what the love languages were, um I remember, and that's one of the things that now I actually do miss about him. uh, we because I sleeping was difficult for me for a little bit, so at night he would make me tea, and he'll be like, amor, quieres un tecito? And I'll be like, part of me would be like, I got it, you know. But then I had to learn to be like, no, it's good, like you can make me the tea. And he would be like, his face, I can see his face right now. He would be so happy when I would be like, yeah, make me tea. And he'll be like, oh, I got this, like it's my moment to shine type of thing. And he'd be like, do you want it with sugar? Do you want it with honey? Like what flavor? I'll have all this. Like we would go to the store and he would be so excited to buy all kinds of different types of tea so he could make me tea at night.
Mhm,
So those are one of the things that unfortunately that happened like on the last end of our relationship. But after that I was like, oh man, like I've learned, I had to learn to take that in as him loving me, even though
mhm,
to me wasn't necessarily what I needed or what I wanted. But yeah, so yes, if you want to date me, don't do stuff for me.
mm.
Tell me I'm pretty and touch me.
Yeah, I wanna take a side note of something that came to mind because it's so simple and we have conversations so many times about shit and we know what we're talking about, but for some reason something clicks. So talking about the love languages and be like, yeah, that's where they come from. And I never connected the shit to just be like, oh shit, okay. Like I'm just mind blown right now. And like I know myself a little more by the fact that it's like, yeah, I need you to take care of me when there's something wrong with me. And I need to like, I think now talking about communication and clarity, vulnerability, I'm going to have a conversation with my wife as soon as I can and be like, hey, this is the reason why I get like this. And it's so important to me for you to show up. And I want you to going forward to make the effort to show up for me when there's something wrong. Cause I want you to know no one showed up for me. And eventually I stopped asking for help, you know. So doing understanding that way she understands why it is that I need that and why it is that like that's so important and then it's special to me to be taken care of in that way. Yeah, this is why I love the fucking conversations because you never know what the fuck is gonna make sense and what's gonna connect.
Yeah. But also
Um,
ask her how she wants to be loved.
yeah, I know. Tell me, buy me stuff. I know, like I know, like
Buy me
just
stuff.
put stuff. Tell me and like buy me stuff.
Oh my god,
Uh,
gifts make me so uncomfortable. I don't know what
I,
it is about it.
yeah. I don't that's not like you said the do shit for me. Like you buying me shit doesn't do nothing. Like it has to be something really thoughtful. So it's so hard for me to then be like, oh, buy her flowers. Cause I'm like, to me, that doesn't mean shit. And like I rather like spend time with you, do other things, but like this little thing makes sense to you. So then I gotta remember to like make the effort, same thing, do that, you know? And that's where, like I said, you can have a disconnect, but you have to remember you have to put it an effort at the same time, you know, like you have to really put an effort to understand each other. Because I think maybe once I understand her, like you said, of asking her, like I understand myself, now I'll know and I'll be able to even then be like, oh, okay, let me help you heal this part of you, or like let me help you do this because this is how you need me to show up for that. Um,
Mhm.
the next thing is just when once again we're the topic of relationship dynamics, it says trust issues addressed any existing trust concerns or insecurities. um
Oh, this one's gonna be good.
okay, I'm happy you had one thing because I don't know where to take that. To me
Oh,
it's like trust issues.
oh. I know that we agreed we wouldn't out people here, but
A friend of a friend of a friend.
a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, el primo del amigo, um, the one of the parts of the relationship, one of the people, they have a rather low self-esteem.
Mhm.
They don't feel pretty, they don't feel attractive, they don't feel handsome, whatever the case may be. Their self-esteem is like really bad. Because of that, there tends to be quote unquote trust issues, because then if their partner goes out or looks at other people, um, talks about other attractive people, that person gets like upset and even asked, like literally has straight up asked this person, like, "Are you cheating on me?" And the person's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Like, I've been here with you. Like, what you mean?" Um, so I think it is very important when it comes to trust issues, which is different than jealousy.
Mhm.
We can like talk about that. Um, when it comes to trust issues, it's important to identify what belongs to me and what belongs to the relationship.
Mm.
If within the relationship, for example, with my marriage, as we all know, my marriage ended because of an affair that my ex-husband had with somebody else. And it wasn't the first incident, right? So there was already a history of that. So because of the wounds that were, or the yes, the attachment wounds that were that happened within the relationship, there were trust issues. So I felt very insecure within the relationship, and not about myself, but like about the relationship, because I knew I had tangible evidence that, um, granted, the way I went about it could have been very different, but there was tangible evidence that that trust was not a thing within our relationship. Because prior to me finding out that he was having affairs, like we were solid. Like I would be like, why don't you go out with people? Like, go do something. Go. You're too much of a homebody. Like, go out. After I found out the affairs, I'm like, where you the fuck you at? Who the fuck you with? Um, because of what had happened, the attachment wounds that happened, and them never actually been addressed or resolved. So it's important to know where are these like quote unquote trust issues are coming from. Um, did we? I don't remember if we. I don't remember. Anyway, recently there was a person that I started seeing, and this person uh, went on like a trip, and I didn't hear from them for like a whole weekend. Not because of mutual agreement, but just like this person just like ghosted me for like a weekend. So then when they came back from the trip and all of a sudden they like appeared, like my shit got stirred up. Like
Mm.
my trust issues, which belong to me, like got stirred up. And I'm not saying that their behavior was necessarily okay. Regardless of their behavior, like what got stirred up for me belongs to me. Right. So then after they came back, we talked about it, whatever. They had to go on another weekend trip, came back, and like the story that they were telling me, like part of me, like there was this little boys that was telling me, like they're lying to you, they're lying to you. So then I told him, I was like, hey, I what I'm gonna say, I know belongs to me. I know it belongs to me. I think I'm just looking for some reassurance. And I told him, like, there is a part of me that is telling me that you're like lying to me, and that there may be a chance that you're seeing somebody without me knowing. And they were like, what are you talking about? They're like, if you want to see receipts of this and that, da, 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 da. And I'm like, no, no, no. Like, I'm not asking you to give me all of those things. That's not what I'm needing. Like, because of past experiences, right? Like, this is me taking accountability. Because of past experiences, this is what my body is like, how my body's reacting. And I'm not saying that you have done necessarily to anything tangible that like you are in fact seeing somebody else. It's just because of the patterns that my body's picking up on. But can you just like reassure me right now that you're not seeing somebody else without my knowledge? And they were like, no, I'm not seeing anybody. And I was like, okay, cool. That was it. So that is me recognizing that there is no tangible evidence for that. Like that belongs to me because of past
Hmm.
issues, right? Um, so that is where what I'm saying. Like it's important to recognize what belongs to me, what belongs to the actual relationship.
Yeah.
Important to discern between the two.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can think of it for me goes back to like the vulnerability part. I think I don't remember exactly how it went, but it happened very early in the relationship with Celia, where like a similar situation where like um I don't remember exactly how it happened, but it created some trust issues, and then through a very I think I think if I wasn't to have cleared that up, I don't think our relationship would have lasted longer then. But I just remember saying like, "Hey, um, I'm still the same thing kind of that you said. Like I'm still concerned about this, and I'm taking this. Like, obviously, it happened like fucking 14 years ago. Like I'm very taking this relationship very. It's going very well, and I'm serious about where it's going and the potential that it has and shit like that. Um, so I just want to let you know that this has been a concern of mine. Um, and the point is that somehow through being vulnerable, I communicated with her directly how I felt, and then we cleared it up, and that was that, like you said. But I think it was like I don't know how. I think of all the shit now that I have been through with her, and that I don't know how I had the ability to communicate so directly so early on in the relationship. And I think now that I'm thinking about it, I think that situation and that conversation might have set the foundation to be able to build on top of that. Because it took a lot
Mhm.
of shit for me to like be vulnerable and like cry and do the shit, like communicate exactly instead of keeping it in the back of my mind and pretending like the relationship was going on and everything was fine and okay or something like that. Like I said,
Yeah.
so much anxiety in my like back then that I don't have a great memory, but it was something along those lines, you know.
Mm.
Um, so I think it just it goes back to vulnerability. Um, the next topic or the next thing here says family and external influences. So the next one is family dynamics. Discuss relationship with their family and how they might impact your marriage. I
Yes.
I have a very simple thing that I live by, and like I said, I can change my mind about it. My shit is that no one in my family and almost none of my friends know anything that happens between the relationship between my wife. Nobody. Like nobody. When we're struggling, I feel like I ask for help outside of that. I ask for help in somebody because I have been witness throughout my life of how many people confide or go talk to like, hey, this is happening in my relationship, hey, Celia did this or this is happening, and it just completely ruins the relationship for life between the
Them
person
too.
and the family, you know. So I'm not sure that this was exactly what I was talking about, but this is what came to mind with me. That's just been the thing. And when someone asks me about shit like that, I'm like, that's usually my advice because very few people or have the emotional intelligence to say like, oh, okay, well they're behaving like this because of their wounds and their shit like that, and to be able to analyze, not just blame like, oh, hijo de tu pinche madre, this and that, oh, que culero, doing this to me, or doing this to you, or doing shit like that, you know. So
Yeah.
I think when it comes to that thing, it's just like no, like I don't think, and I figured this out from again a very early on in a relationship. Be like, no, nobody knows shit. Nobody knows any struggle that is anything that's happened between us, any of that stuff, because it's just I don't think it helps because, like I said, no one knows how to maneuver the information healthy and not develop grudges. And I've seen such a simple one-time thing that you tell somebody and the grudge is like built forever on that person, you know?
I can attest to that. Yes. But honestly, like I am a person I will tell my family stuff. I don't know that is good, bad, neither, but um I I am I am a person that does talk about. I rely on my family a lot. I'm very close to my family.
Hmm.
Um uh I think for me is, and this is something that I like also did within my relationship, and this might we might be getting into like values with this conversation now, but
Hmm.
um to me personally, and this is something that again I had to learn, is not necessarily a hierarchy, but I think it's very important to make your partner a priority, like your life partner a
Hmm.
priority. Because this is something that I didn't necessarily do within my marriage. Um, where if it was something with my family, I would like drop everything and like go to my family. And my ex-husband, like one day he was like, I'm never um like your family is always going to be more important than I will ever be. I was like, oh fuck, like that, like him telling me that was like, whoa, I was not expecting that. So I think that's one of the things that I fucked up in my marriage, not making him a priority.
Hmm.
So if you are looking to have a life partner, I think making them the priority is important. And again, this is a value of mine. This is not from me being a therapist or anything like that. It's just a belief that I hold. Um,
Yeah.
and that doesn't mean that your family is not important and you're just gonna tell them to like kick rocks or whatever. But I think that that balance is it's really really important. I don't think your partner also gets to say like, it's all about me and fuck your family, because there are people that will also do that, that will go to the other extreme where they'll be like, my partner is my everything and fuck everybody else within my family. I don't think that's necessarily healthy if you
Hmm.
have a good relationship with your family.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Um,
that's kind of where I'm at.
yeah. The other thing that I think it was more what, well, there's nothing wrong with what popped up in my head and what you said afterwards. But I think what it was more talking about was like having again, this whole shit is so much about self-awareness and
Uh,
awareness of who you are and what you bring to the table and all that stuff. Um, because I think it would have helped out a lot too in my relationship if we knew what we know now, jumping in there and being like, oh, my family is super anxious and your family is super avoidant, and this is that, and this is the relationship I have with my mom. This is relationship with my dad. This is with my brother. Same thing for her to have done that. I think would have prepared us more to ease some of the tension and some of the stuff that happened between us, um, because we would have been aware of how things are, how the relationships are,
mhm.
within each other's family, and just like I said, being aware of the dynamics and what each family member or what each relationship brings to the table and all that, and saying, hey, this is how we do this here, this is how we do that there, I think would have been helpful. I think now we're getting into more of like, yes, they're important, but they're not as important as everything we discussed in the first episode and even higher on the list.
Mhm.
um because the next thing is external stressors. So be aware of external stressors like work, friendships, and other factors that can create stress. um And yes, again, it just goes back to me for that awareness of like, hey, this is what I do for work. Like this is what I want to like. Just it gets a little bit more into the future planning, which is the next kind of session here section. But it's like this is what I do for work. This is how I maneuver that. This is how this makes me feel. This is what my plans are, my goals. This is how it affects me. Whether like you being a therapist, it could be like you're fucking emotionally drained at a lot of the times when you're done with all that shit that you don't want to talk about anything. Or if I'm fucking a construction worker, then it's like, yeah, you're gonna deal with a lot of physical fucking fatigue and all that stuff, or whatever it
Mhm.
might be, so that you kind of know what to expect and what the careers are, and be fine with the fact that, and not take it personal, that you might be emotionally drained or physically drained or whatever it might be. I think
Yeah.
that's important. Then also just discussing the cultural and religious expectations. Just obviously, if you're not from the same culture, from the same religion, how are you going to maneuver that? How are you going to deal with that? Are you going to find a middle ground, or just being open and honest about what you believe in, what you expect? Although, from my experience, like things have changed drastically, like everything else in the
Mhm.
universe that is always changing. Um, but yeah, it was such a struggle because Celia's, my family was non-practicing Catholics, but Celia's family is like, well, at least their parents are super practicing Catholics, and like we got pushed into that at early on in the relationship, and the expectation was to go to church and all that stuff. um and now it's like, yeah, we don't, I want to say I'm agnostic at best. But um thankfully, like, we respect each other, where I'm not pushing shit on them, and we're not, for the most part, they don't push anything on me as well to do certain things, or do all that. I'm not
For the
gonna
most
say it
part.
like that, for the most part. But we've been able to manage it where that doesn't become an issue, because of who I am and who they are. I think that's more important, that we respect each other and we just do what we think is best and all that, without forcing somebody else to do it. But I have learned, from other experiences of people that I know, of like how different religious beliefs like kind of impact that, because it's not discussed and it's just like assumed. And then in the future you have kids, and now it's like, well, I want to baptize him. Like, what you mean you got to baptize him to, like, he's old to do this or this or that. So it becomes a
Yeah.
problem afterwards because of it. And also because you can, I think, within the marriage, you can still grow differently. Like, I know people that are like, one of the people in the relationship um become religious and the other one doesn't, or they jump into different things, some spiritual and some religious and all that. So it can get kind of tough. But
Yeah.
once again, preparing it and being aware that that's a possibility, um for the change and for the struggle, then like it wouldn't surprise you anymore, and you'll be more prepared for it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
I I'm so surprised. Are finances not discussed in there?
uh it's not on the list, but we can add it into it.
I
We can
would
actually talk about it.
absolutely add it.
Yeah, we can talk about it at the end. um or maybe it fits into this one, or preparedness. So parenting and family goals, discuss whether you want children or approach to parenting. um yes, definitely talking about if you're gonna have parents or not, I mean, if you're gonna have kids or not, is important. And the parenting style, I think, is that's hard to develop. That's hard for me to be like, without having kids, to be like, oh, this is my parenting style. I don't think that makes too much sense, because you wouldn't know what kind of I wouldn't know what kind of father I was going to be before I was a father. So it's kind of like maybe discussing your idea or expectation or stuff, because I think, again, everything is changing, and what I thought I was going to do and when Celia was pregnant with Mia, and who I am now, I think, is completely different. I was much more of the idea of being controlling, like, and not controlling, but like overprotective, and like her exposure, like, to the world and stuff. Like, that was my idea. Like, oh, I'm gonna protect her this way, and I still do that to a degree, but now it's more of like if she becomes exposed to it, like we'll just have a conversation about it and explain it because I realize that I can't control everything that she's exposed to now or they're exposed to now. So now it's much more lenient than what it was before.
Mhm.
My idea was to be like very rigid and don't fucking get her cooking toys and don't fucking do any of this shit and anything that's gonna get her, like that. um I remember having that specific like conversation. So like my family struggled when with the baby shower and like things like that, but it was like, oh, it's a girl but no cooking shit. So like they literally struggled to figure out what to give her and shit like that, um but yeah, I think just knowing if you're gonna want them or not will be the thing, will be the most important thing, so
No,
you
I
later
don't think
on.
so. Not just if you're gonna want them, but because I would not. And granted, we all have the ability to do it. Honestly, if whenever I become a parent, like there will be a day where I'm gonna like snap and kick their ass. Probably gonna happen. But I don't want to. I don't want to use physical discipline with my kids. And if I were
Mm.
to like be with somebody and they're like, "Fuck yeah, I'm gonna kick their ass," I'm gonna be like, "Bye. I don't want to
Yeah.
be in relationship with you." Like if
Yeah.
you are okay with hurting children, like I don't want to be in relationship with you.
Hmm.
So I do think it's important to discuss how are we gonna parent?
Yeah.
What are um, gender roles too? If you are of the belief that boys don't cry and boys are the providers and boys are the alpha male, I'm gonna be like, bye.
Yeah, but the thing where I see it as like it's just important if I'm right, because ideally you would have all of this, you would have seen this way earlier in the relationship, right? Like
I would hope so.
that
Yeah.
person, that person's not gonna wait to discuss kids to see if it's a fucking alpha male and shit like that. You would have seen that from the beginning, or hopefully
You'd be
you would have noticed it,
surprised.
or hopefully you're in the relationship for enough time where those things actually pop up and you're not in the honeymoon stage and then getting married right away. Um, but yeah. Oh, there it is. Financial mentality is the next one. See, you got ahead.
Woo!
The next one is financial mentality. Address attitudes towards money, spending, and saving.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, what I learned from this experience is another shit in the past, and I realize I'm hogging a lot of the talking. I'll let you on the next one. Is I think finances are such a big deal because it triggers everything else. Like if we're going on the basic survival needs of like a roof over your head and food and shit like that, and then everything else falls on top of that, if that shit is like unstable, then it shakes everything else up, right? Like it affects you in every possible way, going upwards on the pyramid or whatever. You can't possibly be, I don't know, you can't fucking have a stable relationship with your spouse if you both are stressed out about what it is that you're going to pull money from, what are you going to do
Mm,
with the
mhm,
rent and all that stuff. You're not going to be able
mhm.
to have the patience for your kids. Let's say you're not going to be able to look forward to fucking exercise or some shit, or to fucking be that when like the basic ground level stuff is shaky. So um it's about figuring it out, and yes, also discussing what are your plans, what are you going to do, like maybe like if you're dating, like do we want to own a house, like how much do
Yeah.
you know about stocks and bonds and fucking crypto and investing, do you have a 401k, all that stuff, financial stability, like what the fuck is, how do you do that, like what have you been doing with that. I think it's all very very important for the reasons that I said, um,
Yeah.
where that's your foundation for everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I don't think we. Excuse me. I don't think we talk about it enough. Because I do think that whatever romantic relationship you go into, like there needs to be alignment within you too. And if you don't have that, it's going to be really hard to navigate, right? If um like I have a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, and he's absolutely not interested in owning a home. He's like, I don't want to buy a fucking house. Like, I am okay with just renting for the rest of my life. And I'm like, I would never be able to date you. Like, I want to be able to have a house like that. That is something that's important to me. Um, and or where our money goes. Like, I am frugal as fuck. Like, yo soy coda when it comes to like material stuff. If it's like an expensive shirt, I'll be like, I'm not buying that shit. But if it's for like experiences, or like, let's go on a motherfucking cruise and spend like $10,000 on it, I'll be like, yes, let's. But if it's buying $125 shoes, I'm gonna be like, I don't
Other
know.
than
I
running
don't know.
shoes.
Other than running shoes, with running shoes, I will go up to probably 200. Can't believe I just said that. Um, but it is important to talk about those things because that is one area within my marriage where we struggled because he was like buying all the expensive stuff and expensive car, and I would just be like, for what? Like, why are you spending our money on an accessory for your fucking car? Like, that's dumb. But it would be important to him.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. I think it also has to do, like you said about that, right? Like, maybe it'll be more a conflict of someone that likes to stay home, someone that likes to go out all the time. How you're spending the money, and just what's the plan in having a goal? Because I think that just goes. I think it's just a matter of like both of your goals aligning. You know, like if
mhm.
one of like just saying like, hey, this is what I've done so far in my life to finances, and this is what have you done, this is what I've done, and these are my goals, these are the thing, cool, that aligns, cool. I don't think it's necessarily a deal breaker, again, because shit changes and you're not going to want the same thing. um but it definitely helps to be um aligned in it and have the same goals, or be able to grow together and be like, hey, never mind on this because of this and that or whatever. I think just like everything else is just having the awareness to have the fucking discussion.
Yeah.
Having the awareness to have the discussion. The next one is life stress management. It says create a plan for significant life events, illness, job loss, etc. um I think just it was I was talking with my client yesterday of like, I think this goes together already with like the rest of the stuff we've been talking about, because everyday things are going to be handled um a lot better once you have, I mean, if you know about attachment styles, already about your childhood and this and managing stress and managing problems and why you get upset all the time and why do you get upset when you yell, I mean, why do you yell when you get upset, why do you get avoidant when you get upset, and all that stuff. So you're already going to have an idea and a great foundation to be like, oh, how are we going to handle life stress management, like you're
Yeah.
you're just going to handle it a lot better from having the knowledge that you've put into this. I think this is already, like I said, getting into more, other than the financial one, because I agree with you, getting into more like stuff that's like, yeah, this is just checking the boxes. But everything is tied together to the earlier stuff that we talked about.
Mhm.
Um, Therapy, coaching, it says preparedness for growth. Are you guys gonna make sure you guys go to therapy pretty much, or that you somehow get the help you need? That you guys are both open to go to that. I think for sure, if I was like, knock on wood, something happens and I'm starting a relationship, it's like, nah, I don't believe in therapy. I'll be like, see you later. Have a good
Bye.
one. Like I think it's almost it would be a requirement for there to be some kind of healing. It doesn't have to be through therapy, but I mean like some kind of healing, understanding, um,
Yeah.
and going through that. Whatever
Yeah. Some type
whatever
of healing.
way is helping you heal, doing that part of it.
Yes. Por favor.
Mhm. And the one thing that I think is important too, which is one of the last ones here, is like adaptability. Discuss how you handle change and uncertainty. Um, because I was having a great discussion with a friend of a friend of a friend, and this is actually a friend of a friend.
A friend of a
Um,
friend of a friend.
because he was like, I just got. He was like, he was. He told us he just got engaged, and I was like, oh, I just got engaged. And like, he felt like he did enough research and like enough dating to be sure that his marriage was gonna succeed. And I'm like, buddy, that's not how it works. I was like, he's like, yeah, if the marriage fails, like, then that means we didn't do a good job of like getting to know each other and all that there. And I was like, bro, there's so many much more fucking variables and shit that happens. Like, how can my wife possibly have said, yeah, this fool's the one that I want to marry with? And I'm like, I'm nowhere near the same goddamn person I was like a year ago, let alone fucking 15 years ago, you know?
15, yeah.
Like it's shit is always changing and we're always changing and everything is always changing. So just be open to that, you know? Cuz I think like what I've learned is like a lot of our suffering and our pain comes from being stuck to like things are supposed to be this way, you know? And obviously if someone ends up growing into somebody that you no longer align with and see things completely different, ends up abusing you, ends up doing some other shit, then like you end up creating a damage by wanting to force the relationship, you know? Like forcing that relationship. But being open to change, I think is always good. And that includes divorce. That includes separation. That includes that. Because how much more pain do you create by forcing a relationship that no longer is working or
Oh,
wanting somebody? It's like, it's almost like I gotta accept her for who she is now and who she becomes, no matter what. And then I'll assess if at some point that is no longer what I align with, to the
mhm,
point that is no longer reconcilable. I think that's the word. Um,
mhm.
so that's the approach. If at some point the person becomes somebody you can no longer be with, and do that, because you're not gonna force somebody to change. You're not gonna do that if you're not accepting who they are and who they're becoming, and it no longer aligns with you. Then find a way out, or by accepting them,
Yes.
you learn to deal with that, you know, and you continue to be in the relationship as it changes. So
Yeah.
just be completely aware that the person you're fucking engaged to is not gonna be the fucking person that is there 5, 10, 15, 20, 45, 50 down the line. Shit is, we're always gonna be changing with different experiences.
Yeah, that is true.
Hmm. Um, the last one is just clarifying expectations of marriage. Clarify your expectations of regarding roles, responsibilities, and the partnership dynamic. Which, again, if you've already been in a relationship for a while, you have the awareness and all that stuff. You can kind of see that and you can set that up. But it is a big difference between dating and like living with each other. You know, it's like
Yeah.
a huge difference of all
Yeah.
the. Go ahead.
Um, no, because I was thinking of like maybe like couples where they're like, oh, we basically live together. Um, Sometimes I go to his house, sometimes he comes to my house, and or vice versa, whatever. And I'm like, no, it's not the same. uh, like when you're dating somebody, when you're actually cohabitating with somebody, like it's not the same. So being mindful that if you do go into a long-term relationship where you are going to cohabitate with the person, dynamics will shift for sure, of like sharing a home. Because if I'm dating somebody and they come to my house and they spend the night, that this still my fucking house, right? Like you're a fucking guest here. So like whatever I do within this house is like it's up to me. When I
Yeah.
go to your place, same thing. I can't tell you how to do shit. When we share a space together, that's different. Very different dynamic.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Because like, go ahead.
just know that whenever there is a major change introduced, like it's things that or dynamics will shift.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, it just goes from like, I'm just thinking of like all the little shit that can affect you, like how much or how little does somebody like want their fucking room clean or give a fuck about that? Like the
Right.
fucking the temperature of the fucking room when you're going to sleep. How cold versus how hot do you want that shit? The way, I don't know, it just becomes everything. Like
Yeah.
every little shit, because you don't get to literally experience that until you're living together, and all the little things that can affect it. Once again, if there's vulnerability, if there's understanding, if you know your attachment styles, his attachments or her attachment styles, whatever it is, this is gonna like not make or break the marriage, but you just still gotta be aware of it. And it can make or break the marriage if none of those other skills are already in place. If none of that
Mhm.
other awareness is already in place.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I thought of something real quick. I don't know. Maybe for the last couple of minutes, you can tell us because you do couples too, right? Um,
Yeah.
couples therapy. Can you tell us maybe from your experience, what is it that the struggle? I mean, you don't have to go super in detail, but what is like the main thing that people talk to you about, like the couples come and talk to you about, or what the main issue is that you see with them, or maybe what is the solution that you ultimately give them, or do you see a common denominator with all of them?
When it comes to problems that they bring,
When it comes to just marriage, yeah, like, and the reasons why they go to therapy with you, like, is there
everybody, like most of I'm not gonna say everybody. Everybody is something that anxiously attached humans tend to say. Um, a lot of people when they come to couples therapy, they blame communication as a problem.
Hmm.
Everybody, not everybody, most people come in and they're like, we don't know how to communicate. We have issues with our communication. And I'm like, no, you don't have issues with your communication. You know how to communicate. You're communicating with each other, even if you're not talking to each other, or even if you're going off on each other. The issues that you have are your wounds are getting in the way of what you are hearing. Um, but most of them are about that. Like they're blaming it on communication, uh, and most of them lack that awareness, which is makes sense because we don't grow up knowing attachment styles and stuff like that. Um, but they come in because they want to learn how to communicate better.
Hmm.
That's most of what I hear. We want to communicate better. Like, oh, you're
Yeah.
communicating all right, but it's identifying there. And so the way I help them is I help them one I identify their attachment style. How is it that they, because there's protections that we have to protect our little wounded self. Anxiously attached humans, we tend to criticize, to coach, to raise the bar. Um, avoidant avoidantly attached humans, they tend to shut down, to appease, to um, defend themselves too. So I help them identify their attachment styles, their protections, and tap into their wounds. That's what I do,
Hmm.
man.
Okay.
That's what I do.
I have another question that came to mind. Out of all the couples that you see, like what percentage of the people that you see have previous experience in therapy, like as individuals and not couples?
Very few, probably. I don't know percentage, but very few. Like I can probably count them.
What do you think that is?
Why they don't have experience with individual therapy?
Why do you not encounter more people in couples therapy that have had therapy as individuals in the past?
I don't know. I feel like I should have an answer. Like you're asking me to have an answer, and I don't know what the answer is.
My answer is because they fucking went to therapy, so they already worked all this out. If you go to therapy to take care of yourself, You
Oh,
have the skills to manage fucking marriage already, to manage relationships, to manage yourself. So you no longer go to fucking therapy as a couple because you have a lot of it. I mean, not it's not black and white, but I'm assuming if two people that have experience in healing and know their attachment styles and went to therapy for the kids, understand the child wounds and all that stuff, are gonna have a lot less of a hard time in fucking marriage than somebody who's just brand fucking spanking new and knows nothing about themselves, has not looked at their past once, does has no accountability. It's very hard for them to be vulnerable and all that stuff. It's gonna be much fucking harder for you to have a marriage that fucking is truly happy.
yes and no, because I think it depends on the type of therapy. Because we're right now making the assumption that when they go to therapy, they automatically know their attachment style, and that's not necessarily true.
Well,
Um,
yes.
right? Somebody that goes to CBT is not going to know jack shit about attachment style. They're not, and they're still, because CBT doesn't necessarily take you to your wounds. Your wounds are still going to be triggered um, within the relationship. So it's possible that even when you've gone to therapy, right now I have a couple that one of the parts within their relationship is, yes, is going to therapy. Um and they come into session and they are berating, they are um defending, they are coaching, they are yelling, they're the whole nine yards, and they're in individual therapy.
Hmm. Yeah, because we forget there's a lot of variables within that stuff when it comes to therapy.
Mhm.
Oh, you, you're the variable. Your therapist is the variable. The amount of time, the kind of therapy, all that stuff. It's a variable to it. But I
Yeah.
still want to say I'll stick to my guns and someone can push me that most likely if you go to therapy as for yourself, you're less likely to end up going to therapy as for couples because I think, or even if you do go, I think it will make it smoother or it'll make it easier for you to be there once you have the foundation of it, you know. Because
Yeah.
I told somebody at some point the part of like I think marriage is the second floor and you're the first fucking floor, and like the house is split into two, and like you have like the your side of the foundation in the first floor, and so does your partner. And then the foundation, if that shit is shitty, then you're building on top of something that is with shitty foundation on the second floor, and that's most likely to fail. But if you have a solid foundation yourself, you find somebody, you get with somebody, or you together develop a solid foundation and go back into your childhood and your foundation and put new bricks on it and patch it up and put the fucking work in, then it's gonna work. You know, it's most likely gonna more likely to work. Not is gonna work. It's more likely to work. But yeah, that
Yes.
this wraps up the marriage episode. Again, this shit is hard. This shit is hard, and
So
seeing
hard.
seeing the fucking pain and the suffering from the people around my community and other places and everything that I see is the reason for this episode. And just know that with the proper foundation, with proper awareness, with being vulnerable, with having accountability and going to therapy or healing in whatever way, like you can set yourself up with a higher chance of having a happy, healthy marriage. But yep. The email mindfulpodcastliving@gmail.com. Mindfulpodcastliving@gmail.com. If you have any questions, concerns, feedback, whatever you want to tell us, any topics or anything, let us know through there. And remember, you got to let go
In order to
in order to
grow.
grow. Peace.